Hey, good morning, everyone. It's me, Lindsay. Welcome to this episode of Moms on the Left University, and today we're going to be talking about how a bill becomes a law. When we're talking about bills, don't get confused between bills and resolutions. Congress can also pass resolutions. The main difference is you need a joint resolution, something that's accepted by both chambers of Congress in order to propose an amendment to the Constitution. There are other types of resolutions also. Those mainly deal with internal workings of Congress. So how does a bill become a law? The House and Senate have slightly different procedures, so I'm just going to give you a broad overview of this process today. So first, your bill is introduced, and to be introduced, it has to be sponsored by one and hopefully many members of Congress. And then it gets referred to a committee, depending on what the topic of the bill is. So if you have a bill on foreign relations, it might get referred to the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee or whatever. That committee might then even take the bill and refer it to a subcommittee, which is a smaller specialized group within that committee. And then it goes through a public hearing process. So that's where the committee might invite members of different government agencies or public groups to come testify about the bill and get their input. And then we get to the markup period. And that's where the committee can look at the bill, make changes to it, take things out, depending on what they like. If the committee votes to approve a version of the bill, it then gets sent to the floor for debate. The House and Senate have slightly different rules for debating bills. In the House, it's kind of a more formal debate, and you also can't have what we call riders added to bills in the House floor debate. And a rider is an amendment to a bill that is not necessarily about the main topic of the bill. So this is where you might say, I'm not going to vote for this bill unless you add something about protecting forest land in the state that I represent. In the Senate, you can have riders in the floor debate, and you can also filibuster a bill. And a filibuster is basically the process of talking a bill to death. You talk until everyone's done with the bill. No one wants to hear it anymore. We'll talk more about filibusters in a future episode of Moms on the Left University. If the bill makes it through the floor debate, you just have to have a simple majority to send it to the next chamber, and then it starts the process all over. Once a bill gets all the way through the House and through the Senate, it goes to what we call a conference committee, where members of both houses look at their versions of the bill and try to reconcile the differences there. And then finally it gets to the president. So when the president gets a bill, what can he do? He can sign it into law. He can veto the bill, and a veto actually can be overturned by 2/3 of both houses of Congress. Or he can hold the bill. At the end of 10 days, if Congress is still in session and the president has not signed the bill, it becomes law even without his signature. If at the end of 10 days Congress has adjourned, then the bill is killed, and we call that a pocket veto because the president kills the bill by literally kind of putting it in his pocket and holding on to it. So this is a very simplified version of how a bill becomes a law, but hopefully it's been helpful to you and a good refresher of the legislative process in the United States. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.